Yeah, so I thank you for your leadership, and I thank the leadership of the Black Business and Professionals, some organization for really convening this conversation. When we think about this work, we have to acknowledge our ancestors and we have to acknowledge the various lands that we're on. And I appreciate all of you for joining and providing your intellectual property, but not just that, your actionable insights and your valuable perspectives from your ecosystems and sectors. I'm pretty sure that I missed some components, but I have all your bios. But I'm definitely interested in diving deeper into the conversation that we can have today. That'll be very iterative. Unfortunately, because I had some technical difficulties, I'm using a different device right now, so I'm not able to be set up the way I'd like to be. But if everyone has introduced themselves already, let's dive into the conversation. So I'd love to hear from our colleague Puneet, Jan, in terms of your views and perspectives on the topic at hand, and then we'll move forward on to our other colleagues.
Absolutely. Thank you, Victor, and thank you, everyone, for having all of us. So, financial institutions' perspective on small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of our BC economy, as we know, and giving them the strength at the right time via cash flow with different tools and resources is really important at the right time. So, as my other colleagues from different financial institutions, they already outlined the importance of connections, business plan, cash flow projections, other things, and the banking lingo can go on and on. But what I would say is what's critical is to Lisa's point, have that connection early on with the business advisor, with your bank's business advisor, whether it's TD, whether it's CIBC, whether it's Vancity, whether it's RBC, wherever you bank, consult with your business advisor on, okay, I bank with you for a number of years. These are my operations. This is my business plan, and this is what I want to accomplish. And my income is going to be generated by selling these products or these services. So having a clear outline of all these things gives early on the lender the confidence in the business, um, the passion, and all other factors. Another thing is every business owner knows the business really well inside out, but your lender might not have that knowledge of the business like you do. So it's your job to explain to the lender what exactly is your product, how are you monetizing your services, and at the end of the day, how will you be able to pay off the prospective loan or whatever you're asking for? How will you be able to make the loan payments for it? So I think those are some of the critical points among many that you need to consider.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Puneet. One of the challenges I find that small business owners face is just knowledge mobilization and capacity building, understanding how to navigate FIs, financial institutions, and credit unions. In terms of the engagement factor and the onus of the institution to engage underserved, marginalized communities or businesses on the margins of the periphery of the economy, what are some of the things that you and your colleagues are facilitating? And I'm going to hand it over to our colleague, Vicky.
So
Vicky, you're on
you're
mute.
on
You're
mute.
on mute.
So that's great. Thank you, Victor. And I mean, at Vancity, we really want to work with every single community. And, we've got various programs that we do at Vancity. So we do have Black entrepreneurship lending that we do. We work with women entrepreneurs. We work with folks that may have, disabilities. So at Vancity, you come in as a business owner and as a person, and we will have those conversations with you, and we will try to understand where we can best meet your needs. We have access to a multitude of programs and different types of lending that we can do. And in sort of reinforcing what everyone has said so far, your the advisor, the lender becomes, your partner. We're here to collaborate and partner with you to move your business forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out what lending program is going to best suit your needs and get you the best support the best lending, the best opportunities to grow your business. So, rather than saying that here's a program and here's a solution, let's have the conversation first, uncover the needs, have that dialogue back and forth, and then we can present to you like, here's a great program and here's a great program. But ultimately, then the member, because we're a credit union and everybody's a member, they have that decision and that opportunity to make sure it works. And one thing to add to it, I think, which is a little bit net new, is, most people work with a bookkeeper and an accountant, and it's really important to have them on your side and get an understanding when you're going to your financial institution. Is your financial institution, looking at the lending from your net business income, or are they looking at it from your gross business income? Because those are all things that is good for you as a business owner to understand too, and ask, don't be afraid to ask questions, because we are here to help you on that learning journey and going through that process of seeking some lending and some advice. You should have an opportunity to ask some good questions as well too. And then that way you can talk to your accountant or bookkeeper and explain to them and say, what, I'm really on this growth perspective, but there's areas that we need to work on and I need help on to sort of guide me to that next phase. So that's what we do have all these multitude of programs, and we'll just continue to work with the individual to best serve them.
That's so helpful. Thank you so much, Vicky. And when I think about the work of the Black Business Professionals Association of British Columbia and the way they've censored economic reconciliation and economic justice, I think about some of the models and frameworks that FIs and credit unions deploy. So from the perspective of a gender, racial, and social equity lens, Francisco, are there models where you're co-designing products, services, and programs with communities?
Yes, that's a good question. So yes, we do. One thing with TD or even financial institutions, inclusion is very important for us. So we do have very customized programs for communities, and that's just a way to kind of help assist of adapting our programs to your business needs as well. But yeah, the most important thing, as everybody has said, is to have that relationship with your advisor, because then from there we can kind of be able to see what programs would be probably best for you and how we can customize that for you.
So Francisco, I'm going to push you a little bit. Do those decisions happen at advisor level, or is that more senior leadership in terms of product, program, community investment design?
It's I would say it's a half and half. So it's working along with senior management as well. Some programs are already set, so it's just about how do we customize it in a way. If we talk about just the banking itself, like accounts or stuff like that, some of them are already set depending on the community or the type of program we are offering for. But if we're talking about payment solutions, those are fully customized. So it's all going to be dependent how what the needs of the business are going to be.
Can I add to that, Victor?
Yes, please, Nikki.
I work for TD as well. So we are part of a Black customer experience, and we serve our Black customers by creating best class customers program by delivering the whole bank to our clients and the community. We do also have other services that we provide to women in business, as well as 2S LGBTQ2 community as well. And how we decide what credit factors come in play. So from the start of the business, like we open an account with the client, we have that conversation with the client. Do you have a business accountant? Do you work with an accountant? If not, here are some names that we can refer to you to go ahead and work with some different accountants. Clients are like other business partners here said that, it's very important to work with an accountant right off the start, just so you understand the bookkeeping process when it comes to financials and so forth like that. Because, and also income factor, how much income you take in. Because at the end of the day, an accountant could tell you to write off a lot of, for tax purposes, don't declare that much income. But then when it comes to purposes of credit, that makes a big difference. So again, that's a huge factor that an accountant should have a talk with the business client and then also with the advisor, just so that we are on the same track to ensure the client's taken care of. Now, as far as the whole picture, we look at personal banking as well as business. So any client that walks through our door, we go over their personal net worth statement. We ask them what their short-term, long-term goals are. You know, do you plan to buy a house? Do you plan to buy that business? Okay, which comes first? So do you have a saving strategy in place that to do that, right? So, and if not, let me introduce you to a wealth, you know, how to invest and so forth like that, or set up an RSP. Do you have children? What is your insurance would look like? Do you have life insurance? Like, all these factors go into a whole conversation that can go over an hour and a half just to set up, right? So that initial conversation with an advisor is key. So it's definitely always good to have that conversation, even if you're not even sure where to start. It's always good to have a conversation. I have clients come to me and say, you know what, I want to start a business, but I don't really know how to start it. Like, where do I start, right? So, and that's where we kind of give that advice. And then also, there's different programs, like we said, that we do cater to. So the one program that's probably the easiest to get credit under is personal net worth. We look at your personal net worth, and up to $50,000 at TD, we can go ahead and give you a credit line based on your personal net worth and industry. So, I mean, obviously, if you're a restaurant business, you're not going to need an operating line for $50,000. You might need less because it's a cash flow business. So we talk about all those different things. Sorry, I just want to add to that. I know Francisco did a great job. I just want to go ahead and tell you that we do have different ways of figuring out how to give credit to clients.
No, that's remarkable, Nikki, and thank you for providing all that context and those actionable insights. We appreciate you. In terms of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, and more importantly, belonging right now, when we think about social procurement and the remarkable work being done by our federal government, PSPC, and many departments, even provincial governments and municipalities, how are FIs and credit unions within this space addressing procurement? Are you engaging businesses that are right now looking for lines of credit to help them in terms of fulfilling gaps in terms of dealing with their debt service ratio, or just lines of credits to be able to bid on contracts for procurement? I'm going to hand it off to our colleague Lisa, and then anyone else can jump in. Go ahead, Lisa.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Victor, and great question. So what I think as to just reaffirm is that a lot of the times when we when we sit down with our business clients is from the beginning is to get a better understanding of who our clients are, what are their needs, what is it that they're looking to do. So within CIBC, we do offer various different borrowing solutions, starting from if you're buying equipment, or if you're buying a building that you wanted to purchase, a real estate purchase, those can be the larger loans that we look at, as well as from day-to-day operating expenses, whether it's the operating line, as well as a small overdraft. I just want to make sure, in case something comes through, that I have some sort of a protection there. We have that. We also offer, and most of the financial institutions are on here, we offer the Canada Small Business Financing Loan Program too, right? So this is a federal regulated program that small business owners can apply for, depending on whether it's for equipment, leasehold improvement, as well as they can do it for real estate purchases as well. So those are various borrowing solutions that we offer for any of our clients coming in through the door. What we've seen over the last 2.5 years, especially when the federal government also announced the Black Entrepreneur Program, is different financial institutions came up with different solutions as to how can we be different? What can we offer previously disadvantaged Black owners, entrepreneurs that didn't have access to capital or funding as they should have had because of all these previously being marginalized communities as well. So CIBC has come up with, which we recently launched this year, is we've sort of do it in a two-pronged process, not just to offer for the business side, but we also look at the personal side as well. So under the business side, we've got the Black Entrepreneur Program that offers loans up to $250,000. And these could be, which I know for a lot of startups, the first question is, where do I get financing? I'm a startup business. I'm new. I don't have 2 years financial statements, because that's typically what banks would ask for more established businesses as well. So we started looking at how can we do this for both startups as well as established businesses? What kind of solutions can we come up with? And one of them is the loans that we're doing for from $1,000 up to $250,000, and we work with them in terms of business plans, projection income, opening balance sheet. Like all of these could be so overwhelming for clients, but we can work with them to figure out what is it that they need to provide us to get access to these loans. We also offer working capital loans, which I have to say, this is one of the only segment really where we specifically could, where small Black entrepreneurs can borrow up to $100,000 for working capital loans, and we could do up to 30% of their gross revenues. They could borrow to a maximum of $100,000. And the loan terms and conditions, we can go through all of them should they want to connect with us as well. But you don't see that very often, that you actually have an actual working capital loan that banks were providing, because we really look more from like a cash flow perspective as well when we look at financing options for businesses. And to end is sort of on the other spectrum, we also look at the personal side, because we know that it's not just paying fees and finding financing for the business. We also offer a special program right now for all the Black entrepreneurs as well as their employees under the personal side. So no fee banking on personal bank accounts, Visa cards, access to personal lending as well at the same time. And then on top of this, for businesses, it's not just having access to these funds as well, but it comes to how do I pay my suppliers? How do I pay my employees? Like all these cash management needs are there too. And we're also offering to Black entrepreneurs easy access on bank accounts, credit cards, to be able to facilitate this as well. And talk to your financial institution when it comes to paying suppliers, paying employees, filing taxes. We all have great solutions to make it easier for business owners. Instead of having to stand in line and a teller lineup, waiting 20, 30 minutes out of their day to do a deposit, there's so many different easier ways for you to be able to do that, to more tax efficient, more time efficient rather, to be able to do that in a timely manner as well. So definitely have quite a big range of different solutions, and especially with making sure that we provide these solutions to our Black entrepreneurs as well as their employees.
Thank you so much. Remarkable answer, and I appreciate all the context. I'm very comprehensive. My next question is actually to all of you, so I'm hoping that you all can have an opportunity to hop in. So it's very specific around the work in the United States. In 1977, the Community Investment Act was developed, and this act created a dynamic where financial institutions had to allocate a very specific amount of resources to community infrastructure, community investments. Most of your branches and most of your institutions have actual community investment portfolios, some larger than others. In Canada currently, there's about 260 Community Futures Association. These associations are predicated on the fact that rural constituents recognize they were economic actors. During COVID-19, they deployed almost $500 million to the COVID Rapid Relief Fund. As well, in the Indigenous communities, there's about 57 AFIs, Aboriginal financial institutions, that are doing remarkable work, like NACA, our colleague Shannon, Raven Capital, NAFC, the list goes on. And the same thing if you look at the Francophone, the Quebec ecosystem, the work of Chantier, Risk, Natalie at Risk, is facilitating something very similar to David LePage, a remarkable colleague who developed a fund specifically around social procurement to ensure that folks have access to capital. My question is, in terms of all the opportunities and all the arrangements and sophisticated products and services that have been developed for Black entrepreneurs, have you been collecting data, disaggregated data, specifically around success, so specifically around the amounts of loans that have actually been deployed, and what the ratios are around these programs since they've been implemented?
Great question, Victor. Because this, from our perspective, we've been running the Black Entrepreneur Program now since the beginning of earlier this year. And one of my colleagues is actually our Black entrepreneur specialist, who's way more details around this than I do, is actually on the chats as well. His name is Chansey. And at this stage, I don't really think we have sufficient to really see whether there's any data that we can provide it to see whether this is increased or what the percentage is that of these clients that's taken this up. When I chatted to him this week, the answer was definitely that across the country, we have seen a significant increase of our Black entrepreneurs actually being able to get approvals, because it's not just a matter of, here you go, we're offering you a loan. We work with them. We work with the Black Opportunity Fund. We work with the Black Chamber of Ontario as well, to be able to make sure that we provide, other than just here's a loan, other solutions, and provide financial literacy and education to our Black entrepreneurs as well, to make it easier for them. So hopefully next year, when we have this conversation again, we should be able to come on here and actually give you some statistics and say, yes, we were able to see an increase in the number of borrowings from on our Black Entrepreneur Program. But at this stage, because we've just not been long enough, I just don't have the statistics. But happy to provide some further in the next couple of months or something, when we know a little bit more how much of the market we've penetrated. But we've definitely seen an increase in the number of applications and approvals. It's not just seeing how many people apply, but also how many people actually get the funding.
Remarkable. I appreciate your candor, transparency, vulnerability, and strength. I appreciate you. I'm going to go on to our colleague, Vicky.
Perfect. So I can definitely add to that. Again, with Vancity, it's a relatively new area, but we do recognize that, Black entrepreneurs, they are, in terms of access to lending and access to credit, there has been some challenges. And I'm proud to say that Vancity, we actually allocate 30% of our net profits to give back to our members and communities. And so I know definitely this is on our plans. In terms of, like Lisa said, we're not at that point where we have all the stats and numbers, but our leadership has actually recognized and support us lending and looking at programs in this area too. And there's lots of conversations that are happening in the organization. And so again, hopefully next time we meet and have a session like this, we'll be able to share some good success stories. But I can, definitely say Vancity commits 30% of its net profits to invest back into our communities and our membership. So it is something that it is something we are working on for sure.
Thank you so much for that level of transparency. Really appreciate you, Vicky. We're going to go on to our colleague. We have Francisco twice now.
I'll take over actually for Francisco. I'll answer this question for you. So same thing, we do, invest in our community, but as far as the numbers goes, we don't really have specific numbers that we can give you at this moment. But we definitely can get back to you as far as the numbers. But I know there's a lot of success stories that I hear through our Black community. So for sure, we do fund a lot of businesses out there. So it's just a matter of getting those numbers for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And our colleague, Puneet.
Yeah, so financial inclusion has been our core co-op principle since the beginning of since Vancity came into being, even before any of the specific programs came into being. So under that financial inclusion, we have a program called microfinance. Under that microfinance program, on an average, we have funded almost up $2 million for small businesses as loans. Now, these are the businesses who are starting up. Now, they could be marginalized, they could be Canadians, they could be new immigrants, they could be starting something new from their employment, but they don't have financial history proving their success of their business. So we specifically hold their hands. We give them the first step of financing, the $50,000, when they don't have any financial performance proof to provide to a conventional lender. We are like, okay, we'll hold your hand, show us the business plan, work with Small Business BC, we'll work with you, we'll work in milestones, and then get you through that. Regarding BELF, the complete cycle has not completed yet of the whole loans, and I think, as other colleagues mentioned, we will have much more deeper information and knowledge on how we can improve these tools and resources for including like every race into this program, specifically people who are I think scared of bankers, or just that they don't want to deal with bankers. I have seen that as
Yep.
one of the biggest challenge, and be like, okay, oh, I don't know what the banker is going to ask me. My advice to you, if you're starting a business, don't hesitate. Don't be worried about don't be scared of the banker. Ask them all the questions. Ask them everything until you don't understand what the terms and conditions would be.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you, Victor.
No, that's
Uh,
helpful. And one of the challenges I think that a lot of racialized or global majority groups or racialized communities, underserved, marginalized communities face a lot of times with that fear, trepidation, and anxiety around bankers is just the historical narrative. In the
yeah.
Black community, for instance, across Turtle Island, there's a case study around Freedman's Bank. And if when you have time, just Google Freedman's Bank, and you'll learn about how all these African Americans lost their life savings over a period of time because they had faith within a financial institution. And there's been lots of instances, whether it be Black Wall Street or even the narratives of in Africville in Nova Scotia. So that anxiety and trepidation is a lot of time rooted in the historical context of economic exclusion. But definitely, I think in 2022, as we build these relationships, as we move from a place of ownership to stewardship and cultivating relationships with institutions, we can make headway. So once again, we give thanks to the Black Business Professionals Association of British Columbia for convening these critical conversations. So my next question is really straightforward. In terms of some of the innovative ways that you're moving capital to the margins periphery of the economy, the ways that you're creating instruments and vehicles to ensure that no small business is left behind, are there some best practices, communities of practices, or really interesting models that you would like to highlight or amplify right now? We can start with Lisa.
Thank you, Victor, for that. Before I continue, I just wanted to add, Chansey just reminded me as well that CIBC has made about $15 million available for our Black Entrepreneur Program, as well as about $2 million to the Black Opportunity Fund as well, that if you bank declines you, you can always go to them and get a grant as well. So just wanted to put it out there that there is funding available. Talk to your banks, talk to your financial institutions in order to see any of this as well. So is your next question, is this more around cash management, or are you more looking in terms of what we're doing for Black entrepreneurs in particular?
Yeah. So part of the challenge that small businesses
Yep.
face is the model of a loan versus a grant, which is great.
Yes.
But one of the things that we've identified in this conversation is there's a lot more to that process. There's the market making. So there's almost the assumption that folks are actually investment ready, that folks are actually loan ready, when a lot of times there needs to be almost a triage. So one of our colleagues mentioned, I think it was you actually that mentioned your work with Craig Wellington, Colin Lynch, and the folks of the Black Opportunities Fund. You also mentioned the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, our elder Michael Forrester and Doug Minter. So part of that work is literally the triage,
Yes.
that market building and ensuring that there's a pipeline, as opposed to saying, well, there is no pipeline of Black entrepreneurs, which
Yes.
is not true. There's tons of Black entrepreneurs. It's what does the market making look like, and what are some of the innovative, once again, communities of practice and models of actual engagement. Because remember, it's great to have a product or service, but if folks aren't aware of it, if there isn't that knowledge mobilization piece and meaningful, deep, entrenched community engagements, it's a miss. So I'd love to hear if there's any of that work happening, and you've mentioned a few, Lisa, so maybe we can leave you alone. But if there's any more, please feel free to jump in.
No, for sure. Now, I'll just sort of end that with that. What I'm so grateful for, that I think that BC have got this, the Black Business Association of BC, Narissa and her team are really doing such an incredible job in providing access like today for our Black entrepreneurs in our communities as well. And I think that's the starting point with a lot of what we can do to help Black entrepreneurs, is just being able to go, where do I go should I have a question? where do I go in terms of educating myself on a business plan? Business plans are daunting. Like, I don't even like to want to write my own, let alone having you're so excited about your business, but you don't even know where to go. So it's important to have these organizations like the BBABC, as well as any of your banks are willing to support you on your business plans as well. As like Nikki mentioned earlier, we work with bookkeepers, we work with accountants. When you come to us and you go, I don't know how to do a forecast for 2 years, we can find the right people that might be able to support you to be able to do all of that as well. So it's in, go to websites, right? There's so much information that's available. It's just not knowing where to go. And I think organizations like this that we're part of, as well as working with your financial institution, can really help to be able to guide you to that. So I'm done, Victor. You can move to someone else now.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So we're gonna move on to Vicky. I'm gonna pivot a little bit in terms of the loan versus grant making, because as I mentioned before, the market making is so important, and a loan is one thing, but capacity building grants and innovation grants are another. Love to hear more about communities of practice and the ways you're approaching this work. Oh, you're on mute, Vicky.
Yes. So
Oh, you went back on mute.
oh, there's some technical difficulties there. Yeah, so in terms of the granting process, we do have Vancity does allocate certain funds a year, and it is through sort of our community investing, and we do look at different programs and different organizations from that grant perspective. So we do allocate a certain number of funds there. And then again, we'll try to connect members with the right resources. There's different, not just sort of in the Black entrepreneur community, there's other organizations that Vancity has partnered with, like Spring Activator, and there's a Shred It program if somebody's doing technology-based things. So we'll try to just get them connected to other organizations who do offer grants as well too, because you're absolutely correct, Victor. There might just be a little bit of a there's a business is starting out and they just might need that little bit in order to get to that step where they're ready now for some lending. And like Lisa said, and Puneet has mentioned, even it's about that conversation, right? So we need to just dive deep and figure out what does that, every business member is going to be unique, and they may come to us with a certain need, and we'll help guide them in to the right resources.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for that answer. Really appreciate you. We're going to move on to our colleague, Puneet. And Puneet, I'm going to pivot a little bit around this question as well. So right now in Canada, we're living in an era of a whole bunch of new terms and acronyms that we've been using in many Indigenous cultures since time immemorial. We've used Hadbas, Kigalis, Susus, partners, hands. But right now we're using terms like social finance, social economy, impact investing. So all things impact investing in Canada fall under a table called the Table for Impact Investing Practitioners, the TIP table. All things international are run by CAFID. Recently, there's a development to the National Advisory Board around this work. So right now, there's a unique opportunity for social purpose organizations, social enterprises, and small businesses to engage in new vehicles of accessing capital. I'd love to hear from your perspective how you believe that your organization could potentially support the work, not just of small businesses, but capacity and capital intermediaries like the Black Business Association of British Columbia.
Yeah, no, thank you, Victor. And you have really detailed knowledge about tips, and it's amazing. And I really appreciate it. We have allocated certain funds into certain buckets so that we can do the impact work. For example, we have outlined by 2040 we will be eco-free, zero waste, and we have been doing clean air loans since 2013, if I'm not wrong, might be earlier before, but around that time we have been doing eco-efficiency loan. So this is from the environmental perspective. within different perspectives like impact, women impact, marginalized, financial inclusion, we have different buckets where we do granting. We do granting to different not-for-profits to enable them so that they can be the data collectors. They could be the leaders in their communities and be like, okay, these are the resources that we have, and money can enable that, and those funds can be enabled. Those funds are redistributed by Vancity, so that it can be used in different aspects of the progress.
Thank you so much, Pranita. I appreciate that answer. And Francesco, and I'm seeing the name twice, so my apologies. So whoever wants to jump in, feel free. Once again, I'm going to pivot a little bit with this question. So in the Fall Economic Statement of 2018, the federal government announced the Social Finance Fund, which is a $755 million pot to build the capacity of social enterprises, small businesses, social purpose organizations. The reason why I bring it up in this context is we're here today because the Black Business Association of British Columbia is convening folks around procurement, convening folks around engaging small businesses in the Black community, which is remarkable. But one of the things that in this era of social finance is the concept of Black wholesalers and Black capital and capacity building intermediaries. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your work in this space, but more importantly, when you think about the work that our colleague David LePage and others have been doing around social procurement, specifically around not cheapest price or lowest price, but best value. Are you partnering currently right now with Black businesses, entrepreneurs, or in the case of the Black Businesses Professional Association of British Columbia, with intermediaries to help you in terms of not just co-designing, but implementing products and services for Black constituents? Because we do have an understanding and a model of Black-led, Black-mandated, and Black-serving, that B3 concept, which is so important in terms of lived experience. So I'd love to hear from either one of you, Nikki or Francesco, around how you're conceptualizing this work.
Victor, you're asking great questions. I'm actually talking to the regional manager that is part of the Black community. So she should have been on this call today. Unfortunately, she was not able to be on this call. She would have loved to answer all these questions that you're asking. And you know what, if you give me a little bit of time, I want to make sure that I answer this correctly for you. Just because, like I said, she's more involved. We are a team of people that are in different, she's in Calgary, I'm in Vancouver, there's people in Toronto. We have different teams of people that we take care of, but she's our regional manager for the Black community. Her name is Galila Mast, and she'll be in contact with Narissa soon enough here to discuss what exactly TD is doing to help the Black community as well. But if you give me a second, come back to us. I will put my hand up and I'll answer that question for you in a second here, okay?
Sounds like a plan. Francesco, would you did you want to have any hot pursuits, my friend?
I think I'm going to add the same thing as Nikki. So I do know we do work with different organizations within the Black community, but I think the best person to kind of get this information will be the regional manager for Black business community. I don't want to give you the wrong answer, so I'm just going to wait for what Nikki has to say.
I so appreciate your candor, transparency, and the vulnerability to be able to say, I'll follow up. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So we're 12 minutes to the hour, and I'd love to be able to just make sure that we have some closing thoughts and what I like to call I am statements. Oh, go ahead, Nikki.
Sorry, can you guys hear me? So we give about 10 million to Black Opportunity Fund and continue to help support organization like Narissa through our Ready commitment. Okay, so that's what we're doing right now. And she's typing more stuff. I'm talking to her on a chat here as we speak. So you're asking.
That's
really
incredible.
Be ready. So that's just one example of what we do. Okay.
And I'm a huge fan of the Ready Commitment program at TD. It supports so many remarkable organizations like the Reading Partnership, SETSI's work with. So thank you so much for highlighting that, because it's a remarkable program in terms of community investment. Thank you. So we're 11 minutes to the hour. What I'd like to do is just closing thoughts and what I call I am statements. So your closing thoughts, just any ideas or any hot pursuits that you'd like to share with folks before we close out. But then I am statements. And the I am statement is really straightforward. Just saying, I am grateful, I am happy, I'm hungry, I'm excited. So just your closing thought and a simple I am statement. So I'll begin. I'm grateful for the remarkable and brilliant leadership of my colleague Narissa and her entire team for always gathering folks around pivotal catalytic conversations and really inspiring a robust network of Black entrepreneurs across the country of Canada in a time that's most needed. Coming out of the pandemic, there are a lot of businesses really struggling. And Black communities have really been excluded from traditional frameworks and models of accessing capital. So my hat's off to Narissa and her entire team. And in terms of my I am statement, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to share this time with all of you. And I look forward to convening and building and stewarding a remarkable relationship. I'm going to pass it off to my colleague. Nikki, go ahead.
I'm also thankful and grateful to have this opportunity to be part of this group chat today. Thank you so much for having us on the call today. I look forward to working more with you and Narissa on this and making sure that we take care of our Black community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. We're going to hand it off to our colleague, Vicky.
Mute,
the
Vicky.
tech issues, Vicky, you're on mute.
I think it's a user issue, but but I am very grateful for participating today and being part of this. And I want to say that I'm very open to having dialogue and discussion and supporting Black entrepreneurs. It's an opportunity to create a movement and a bit of a dialogue. And as financial institutions and as a credit union, we can really lead the way and bring folks along and challenge other institutions. Like I'm so happy to see CIBC here and TD here and Vancity here today, because we can really challenge other financial institutions to look at programs and make sure that they are addressing Black entrepreneur needs. So thank you for having me. And again, so grateful to be part of this session and getting the word out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. We appreciate your leadership. I'm going to go on to our colleague, Francisco.
So I'm very grateful for being invited to this event, presenting what TD has to offer and what the available different programs are available for you. Just kind of want to say I'm very eager to help. I'm excited those future needs for the Black community and to continue to strive and offer different programs available to you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Francisco. And our colleague, Puneet.
Ditto, Victor. What you said was really concisely, really done, really nice. But I see this as a huge opportunity for all the financial institutions to come under the umbrella and see what really is the deficiency here and work together to answer that, to fulfill that need that our Black entrepreneurs are not able to access financing, were not able to start their businesses. What were the challenges? So I see this as a really good opportunity, and for that I really appreciate it. Feel appreciative, and I applaud all the things that Narissa and team, and especially you, Victor, you posed really good questions to the financial institutions. So yeah, keep doing the good work.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. And last but not least, our colleague Liza.
Thanks so much, Victor. And as everyone has already said, I am very thankful to be on this land today, to be here during this panel discussion as well, and for having met Narissa for the Black Business Association of BC. I think they do such an incredible job with the work that they do here in our province and across the country as well. And I'm very thankful to have met you, Victor. You've asked some very thought-provoking questions. You clearly know your topic. So thank you for this engaging and interesting discussion as well. And I am looking forward to working with our small business owners and providing solutions for them. And as Vicky as well said, is that it's so incredible to see us as financial institutions coming together and knowing that we can make a difference and starting to make a difference within our different communities as well. So very thankful to be here and lucky to be part of this today. Oh, I don't know where Victor disappeared to. Oh, there he is.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And we want to close the way we begin all things by thanking our ancestors, the various lands we're on, and all the community stalwarts and elders who've been advancing this work for decades, whose shoulders we stand on. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.